Hello, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the show. It's me, your good buddy Spider. I got a sneeze coming on. I feel it. I feel it. Hold on. Ugh. Excuse me. Last couple hours, I've just had to sneeze a lot. I think they just got some dust or something up into my sinuses. But so that's great. How are you? How's everybody been? Um, the weather is changing again. You know, we have to start with weather, but this is earlier than even, I usually get through my little chit chat in the beginning before I even move on to the weather, but I gotta go right at it because it's changing again. It's getting colder, and that might have something to do with why my nose is the way it is. I don't know. Um, but yeah, it is. It is getting a little colder, so now I'm gonna be a little snuffly this whole episode because of that sneeze. So what's new? What's going on in the world? I want to make a quick statement because I don't think it's really necessary, but just in case. And I don't think anybody's been clamoring to hear my opinion on it, but just like I said, just in case. We don't do a whole lot with politics on this show. I mean, I've touched on it a couple of times. I touched on the election just because it was kind of a big deal, but I didn't get into any opinions on the parties and that kind of stuff. I steer clear from all of that as far as this podcast is concerned, because it's not a political analyzing. I'm not a political analyst as far as. That's not my shtick. That's not my thing that I do. I follow along with it because it's important to be informed, but I don't make a big deal. I don't talk about it on my show, and I don't talk about it very much on social media anymore because that's kind of just there's no real winners there. So I just wanted to say that I am not going to be commenting. It's a week or two out from the actual event now, because I wanted to wait till things were a bit simmered before I said anything about it, and this is the most I'm going to say about it. I am not going to talk about the Charlie Kirk situation or anything about that. I'm just going to say I didn't really follow him. I'm not familiar with the things that he talked about, so he was kind of a non-entity to me, but at the same time I don't advocate people being taken out from a distance due to the things that they say rather than the things that they do. Okay, and you can take that for what you want, but again, I have no idea. I have never listened to one of his debates. I've never gone out of my way to search up one of his videos, and I didn't do so after the fact now because I didn't think, oh, well, maybe I should find out why this happened, so I was not interested in him as a voice of anything. Alright, and that's not to say I have no sympathy for what happened. I'm not taking a stance on that because I didn't have a stake in it. And that's not me flippantly, again, disregarding what happened, because I don't really care for what happened. I don't like it. I don't think that kind of thing should happen on either side of the aisle. And I'm going to say that it's a non-starter for either party if somebody does that. I'm just saying. That's the most I'm going to say about it, and that's the most you're going to get. I'm not going to get into anything else. I don't have thoughts about the person who did what they did. I don't have any thoughts otherwise. I'm not going to talk about it. That's all you get. So if you were hoping for me to weigh in on it with some informed opinion, you're unfortunately going to be disappointed, because that's all I have. So where do we go from there? Because that's kind of like a kind of topic, and even though I didn't really talk about it I still kind of brought it up, and people are going to be in how they feel about it. I have an explanation. I have to explain a thing or two, because you'll notice in my episode titles, most of the time you can figure out, oh yeah, that matches the topic pretty well once you get into it. And other times I'll say something in the title that's kind of like, well, you didn't really even talk about that. What's up with this? You didn't address this. And recently in episode 31, it was titled Love, Tragedy, and Trail Mix. And the episode was about my relationship history. And I've had a couple people ask me, because I hadn't realized, I meant to mention it because it was a kind of a part of the story, but then I kind of completely glossed over it, and I missed it completely. What's the deal with the trail mix? What trail mix? What are you talking about? And so here's the addendum to that episode. Here's a little bit of extra. Here's some clarification. When I had my big breakup with the woman before my wife, and I was pretty despondent because, again, at the time, she was the one. I'd poured everything I had into that, and I expected that to be the forever relationship, right? I didn't have any illusions that it was going to be over at any point, and so it kind of crushed and destroyed me in a lot of different ways. And I was pretty despondent, and I was posting all kinds of angsty things on social media, and I was just not pleasant to be around, to be perfectly honest. And my younger sister was like, hey, you know what, me and my guy, we're gonna go camping with his daughter and stuff, and why don't you come out? Why don't you come camping with us? Get away from things for a while. Get things off your mind. You need to get away. You can turn your phone off. You can you can relax a little bit. And I mean, those weren't her exact words, of course, but that's the sentiment. And so I said sure. And we went to, I don't remember what campground we went to. It was quite a ways away. It wasn't close by, so it was a distance, and we didn't have reception, so my phone was mostly off. I would check the time and sometimes see if I could get email every once in a while. But so we went camping, and of course, anytime I go camping, I got to get trail mix, and I got to, do that kind of thing. Get trail mix, get various camping foods, and we had a good time. And I felt a little bit better. I mean, I still was in the dumps, and I was still kind of like, I was still kind of messed up a little bit about things. But, and I don't know if I had met my wife at the time. We may have met, and then I said, oh yeah, I'm going out of town to go camping. And it might have been while she was still in another relationship before that ended, and then before we got together. I don't remember the timeline of all that. I was drinking very heavily at the time, even for me. I know people are like, well, you're always kind of drinking, aren't you? That's kind of your thing. I don't drink all day long. I'm not a day drinker on a regular, everyday basis. I got to take care of my daughter. I got to take care of the house. I can't be, plastered all the time, buzzed all the time. I drink in the evenings when it's just me. When it's just me hanging out, right? But at the time, I didn't have any of that. I was alone in my apartment with just me and my dog, and I just had to take care of him, and he was pretty easy to take care of at the time. And I was buying bottles of $5 rum from the local corner store. It was pretty vile stuff, to be honest, and I was getting some cheap juice and mixing it with juice and just drinking that constantly. I couldn't afford anything else anyway, which is probably for the better, because it was low proof compared to other things. And so yeah, I went camping. I felt a little bit better, and I didn't drink quite as much when I came back, I think. I don't know. Like I said, the whole timeline is a little bit messy, and I'm not necessarily proud of all that, but I was in a pretty bad spot. But that's the trail mix. That's why that episode mentions the trail mix. So now the mystery is solved. The mystery is solved. But let's get on to the topic here. Let's get on to the topic. The topic today is movies. And I don't know if I've talked about movies before. I don't think I have specifically. I know I have in my family-friendly podcast, which is, of course, called Let's Talk About This, which is woefully neglected, unfortunately. Now that I've been doing this one, I need to go back and continue to make episodes of that. I still have to finish Season 3, which has been like... It's been 2 years now before it's been finished, I think. It's so behind. But, I have a complicated relationship with movies. As I do with everything. You guys know. Listening to me with these podcasts, you know, I don't quite fit the mold with a lot of things. And that's not to say that I'm completely unique and there's nobody like me in the entire universe and I'm a special snowflake and blah, 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 blah. And it kind of hurt my soul a little bit to say special snowflake, because that's used as like a big insult among various political people right now. But I'm very particular. You know, I'm particular about my music. I'm particular about a lot of things, and I am just as particular with my movies. I don't go out to see a lot of movies. I used to go out and watch more movies, and I don't know if that means that movies were better at the time, because right now movies are not all that great. We're kind of scraping the barrel on some ideas for movies, right? Does anybody agree with me? I think so. There's all the obligatory superhero movies. You get like 5 a year, maybe more. I don't know. I completely lost track. We're gonna cover my history with superhero movies, because I've seen some and then I fell off. But I did watch more movies before, because I think there were more original franchises starting at the time, and nowadays it's just the continuation of a lot of franchises. The first movies I remember ever seeing in the theaters as a kid, my earliest memories of seeing anything in theaters was, I remember seeing, it was probably a limited run. I can't imagine it was nationwide. I'm sure it was a limited run for different places. But I remember seeing the Transformers, the movie, which, of course, that came out, I think, in 1986, and I was very, very young, but my parents thought that I might like it at my age. I remember parts of it. I've seen it many, many times since. It's a great movie. But I remember certain things in a hazy sort of way, like you have those childhood memories that just kind of are there and kind of dreamlike. Maybe it's different for you. I don't know. I have these vague impressions at certain ages. And the other movie I remember from around that time, a few years later, because it was 1989, was Batman. And this was the first Michael Keaton Batman. And it's not really a kid's movie. It was the 80s, and things were a bit fluid as far as parents were allowed to take their kids to see. I think it was a PG-13 movie. Maybe it was even a PG movie, because the 80s ratings were a little bit crazy. You could have certain scenes of full frontal like nudity at PG-13 in the 80s. as long as nobody was touching anything or doing anything erotic. It was just, oh, you saw somebody without their clothes on for a brief minute, and that was it. Airplane 2 had, and I didn't see this as a kid, I saw this many years later, but Airplane 2 had that scene where the guy's watching the x-rays and he's watching the people come through, and it shows the dudes in their shorts and whatnot, but it shows the women completely naked. You know, it was the 80s and it was tasteless. I mean, what are you going to do? But it was like PG-13. It might have even been PG, but I think it was PG-13. It wasn't an R rating. R rating was reserved for the real hardcore stuff. And R rating used to mean something real heavy. Like, it meant that there was a ton of gore and the language and the just different, you know, it meant more at the time. And now it's just kind of the natural next extension. I've seen plenty of R-rated movies that were just kind of like, it didn't really need to be R-rated, probably. But, I mean, I can see why they didn't want kids watching it. So, yeah, and the biggest thing I remember from that Batman movie as a kid, I was 6 years old when it came out. And I remember those opening credits where you're flying through the Batman logo and it's all stone and it's all, and the music is playing, and I'm not doing it just right, but if I get it right, I'll probably get a copyright strike. I don't know. And it was awe-inspiring, and that is the most clear memory I have from seeing that movie in a theater, because I remember it being in a dark theater and who knows, maybe I fell asleep as a kid. I don't know. I've seen the movie many times since, even as a kid growing up. And, so those two are my earliest movie memories in theaters. We watched a lot of movies at home that my parents recorded, because VCRs, of course, were a big thing all through the 80s and the early 90s. And they all still had the tuners in it, and you could still record things from HBO and from various places. And these were places where the movies they were still strictly movie channels. They didn't have TV shows, they didn't have news, they didn't have anything like that. They were all strictly movies. So we had a lot of old VHS tapes that had movies recorded, maybe like 3 or 4 movies on a single tape, because tapes were huge back then. And so we had a lot of those when I was growing up. We had some Disney things, we had some specials from TV, various other things. Because my dad was big into movies. I don't know if my mom was really big into movies. I mean, she watched them with us sometimes, and she liked a few movies, but I don't know if she was ever really into movies. My dad was into movies for a while, and they had a special cabinet for the grown-up movies. And I'm not talking about, like, you know, porn or anything like that. It was all the R-rated, like all the stuff that we weren't really supposed to see. Was in a special case that was locked once we got old enough to get into things, because there were 4 of us kids. I mean, it was me and my sisters, and we got into everything, because that's what kids do. So, and then, of course, once my older sister became a teenager, and I was close to being a teenager, because I was right behind her, then we would start sneaking some of those movies out and watch them when my folks were out, because she'd be the babysitter, and we would watch movies while my mom and dad were out bowling or on a date or something. So we watched a lot of movies that we weren't supposed to. But I think I turned out okay. Anyway, so we had access to a lot of movies. And of course we had all the Disney movies growing up. We had, you know, I remember when Aladdin was new, the cartoon, of course. I remember when Beauty and the Beast was new. I don't know if I remember if The Little Mermaid was new, but I do remember a lot of those. And several of the Muppet movies, um, we watched those when they were new. Lion King, when it was new. I grew up initially really liking movies. I didn't really care for TV shows so much. TV shows were always kind of iffy for me. When I was a kid, of course, we had TGI Friday, not the restaurant. It was a block of sitcom programming for family stuff. Like you had Family Matters and Cosby Show and Step by Step, and later on you had Boy Meets World and different things. And I think these were all on the same network, but I could be wrong. 'Cause, you got ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. They all had their own blocks of shows. And initially growing up, we never had cable. We never had cable. Which right now it's like broadband and that kind of stuff, which is the new cable, and then you've got satellite and whatnot. But we never had cable growing up. We had the over the air tuners with the rabbit ears, that you had to adjust. And we didn't often get the Fox channel in, whatever our local one was. 66, I think. Fox 66 was our local affiliate. So when we finally started getting it one year, and we were able to fuzzily get in like an episode of The Simpsons, it was like a huge deal. My dad was like, "Oh, let's watch this show," and my mom was like, "Oh, I don't want to watch it," because she'd heard things about the show, and because it was divisive at the time. It was, it was new. It was transgressive, but we loved it. We were like, "Oh yeah, let's watch this." And my dad had cable in his office when he still had an office inside the hospital that he worked at. After that, eventually he had an outside, off-site office all the time because they had the falling out between the corporation and whatnot. I talked about that before. But when I was younger, he had an office in the hospital and he had cable in the office. And so when we'd go up there, we'd watch Nickelodeon. And I'd watch Ren and Stimpy, which is not appropriate for anybody. But it was funny, and I liked it. But we never had cable at home. We were out in the middle of nowhere. They didn't run cable there. Eventually, we got satellite. I think we had DirecTV. I think. I don't know if they've changed that since then. I think they switched to Dish Network at some point. I don't know. It might even be something else. It's probably all like internet based now out there, but even that's kind of spotty because again, you don't have broadband, and we always had dial up, so I don't know what kind of internet they've got at home right now. I haven't asked. But so we didn't have access to new movies until they came out on VHS. Or when they were in the theaters, and sometimes we would go if it was a family thing. Or if we were able to record from somebody else or something like that. Because that would happen sometimes. We got a lot of tapes that we recorded from other people. Until the satellite came on, and then we had movie channels and different things of that nature. One of my favorite memories, two of them actually, and I've probably mentioned them on the show here, but I'm going to repeat them anyway because it's part of this episode. Two of my favorite memories of me and my dad. And he's still around, of course. I'm not, saying this in retrospect. But two of my favorite memories are, there was a time, and I don't know which came first. I think I'm going to tell the one first, because I think this came first. Because there were a lot of pay-per-view movies. there were a lot of movies on pay-per-view. You would order them, and you'd get to watch them for a couple of days. And then that would be it. That had been a thing for a while with certain HBO things and other various channels that would come along. So one day, my sisters and my mom were all out on some girls' trip, doing something, and I don't know what they were doing. They were out all day. I think they went. I don't know. Maybe it was a bridal shower or something. I have no idea. I can throw out all kinds of ideas, and I don't think any of them would be right. But it was just me and my dad at home, and so my dad was like, you know what, today we eat like kings. And he made a big deal about it because it was just the two of us. And he made steaks and mashed potatoes and vegetables and the gravy and everything. Oh my gosh, it was fantastic. And then he ordered on pay-per-view Alien Resurrection, which is a goofy movie. It's easily the worst movie of the franchise. I know some people are going to say, oh no, Prometheus and Covenant and those are kind of bad, but nah, the Alien Resurrection is uniquely awful. I liked it, and I still like it to an extent, but that doesn't make it a good movie. And that's one of the points we're going to make while we're talking with the show. So keep that in mind. Put a pin in that for later. But he ordered that on pay-per-view, and so we watched that together. Because I was just getting to that age where he decided that I was mature enough to handle movies like that. And that was great. Having steak and mashed potatoes and the whole the spread and watching Alien Resurrection. Like, it didn't get any better than that. But we both kind of agreed it was a dumb movie afterwards, though. Like, we were both like, it wasn't as good a movie as we thought it was going to be. But it was still, it was a bonding thing. It was me and my dad. And I cherish those memories I have. Because I've always been the one who's always been kind of distant with my family, and that's just, I guess, how I am. It's just my temperament, and it's partially by choice, but not because I'm trying to cut people off. It's because I focus on what I'm doing, and I've got my own thing, and I got my own family, and it's just how things happened. But I love those memories I have when we had those opportunities just to bond over something. Because I was never good at much else. I wasn't good at sports stuff, so we couldn't play catch or throw the football back and forth or play basketball or anything like that. I was super introverted, and we would talk about games sometimes, and he got me game systems and whatnot, but the other time that I have a really good memory of, and I think it was after this. It was after that. I was sitting at the family computer with my headphones on, doing something meaningless. I don't know what it was. I was probably just poking around online. Because online was new to me at the time. We had dial-up internet. I was trolling around on message boards and getting into trouble and stuff. And that was the same computer that I made my first MP3s from the first time I made music as a musician. And I'm sitting there and I'm doing whatever, and he comes through and he pops open the disk drive. And he pops a disc in and closes it. And I'm just kind of like, okay. I didn't want to say, hey, I was doing something, because it's like he obviously had a plan. He had a plan. He had this look in his eye like, And it's a movie. It's a DVD. Because my dad was up on the tech. He had DVD players in his computers. And that was new. That was a new thing. DVDs were brand new. Not brand new, but they were newish. And the movie starts playing. And I'm into it. I'm hooked. And he just walks away and lets me watch the movie. And it's pitch black with Vin Diesel and Claudia Black. I think that's her name, Claudia Black. Something Black. Maybe not Claudia, but And, I loved it. It was a great movie. I sat and I watched the whole thing. And it's one of my favorite movies to this day. And he must have known I was going to like it, because he just popped it in and walked away. It's one of those cool little things that my dad would do, that he was like, you know what, I know you'll enjoy this. And I don't know if you would have watched it if I'd have just loaded it up, but I'm just going to surprise you with it. So, over the years, I would see movies in theaters. I saw when Star Wars the special edition came out. It was the first of many special editions, right? It was the first time the movies were coming back since the original release. And it was in preparation because they were going to start doing the prequels not too long afterwards. But George Lucas brought the movies back, and this is when he tinkered a bit, and he had added scenes, and he played with the CGI, and there were some things that weren't quite as good from the originals. Because we had the VHS tapes from the originals, and I was a huge Star Wars fan at the time. I loved Star Wars. I had action figures, comics, books. I watched the movies all the time when I could. Loved them. Empire Strikes Back, favorite of the bunch. Favorite Star Wars movie. So when they did the special editions, and they put the first one back in theaters, which is A New Hope, of course, we had like a school trip for some reason to go. I don't know why. It was a school trip to go. One of my classes was going to go up there and see it. And for whatever reason, I don't know how it happened, I ended up in the wrong theater. So I went into a theater where the beginning crawl was already starting. And the theater was packed. There was no seating. There were no seats. So I had to stand in the back of the theater with a bunch of other people that had to stand, because this was back when movies were, like, big movies like that were so big that you just, people showed up like that. And I had to stand and I watched Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, when it got re-released in theaters, and that was an amazing experience. Separated from the rest of my classmates. Of course, mine had started first, so mine ended first, so when I went out, nobody was there yet, so I had to wait for everybody else to finish their theater. But it was, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And I went with my mom to see Muppet Treasure Island twice, because I liked it, and I still like it to this day. It's one of my favorite Muppet movies. When I moved out of my folks' house, and I was able to go and see things on my own, I saw all 3 Lord of the Rings movies in theaters. I didn't see the Hobbit ones in theaters. I might have seen one, but I don't know. I saw all 3 Lord of the Rings movies in theaters. I think I saw all 3 of the modern Christian Bale Batman movies in theaters. I know I saw Batman Begins, and I know I saw The Dark Knight. I also saw Spider-Man, not 3, Spider-Man 2 with Dr. Octopus, which is the best of the Tobey Maguire trilogy. The second one is the best one. I saw Fantastic Four, the one with Michael Chiklis and Jessica Alba. That one was such a weird experience. The first half of the movie was so good, and then the dialogue and every single part of it fell apart for the second half. It seemed like it was done by a completely different team of people. Like, you had, in the first half, you had the one-liners, you had the dialogue, and like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do... And then in the second hand, you would get moments of, they would go in to attack the bad guy, and he would say, oh, I see that. I'm going to do this. And it was that literal. That's almost literally how the dialogue was, and it was so bad, and I didn't understand. Like, it was just, I don't know. I don't get it. But before that, when I was living at home with my folks, I did go on with the girl that I walked all the distance for, my first girlfriend. We did go to the movies once. We went to see one of the Men in Black movies. I don't remember which one. It might have been the first one. But we did see the first Men in Black movie. Her parents took us. And I don't know if they were in the same theater or if they went to watch a different movie. We ended up making out for the entire movie, and I didn't really see a whole lot of it. And it was, I was young, and there were hormones, and whatever. But we did go and see Men in Black, one of them. I think it was the first one. Pretty sure it was the first one. Understandably, I don't really remember. Since then, I saw the first Avengers movie in theaters. I didn't see Captain America and the other ones, and Iron Man and whatever, but I did see the Avengers with some people from Sears. Sometime before that, in 2005, I watched The Devil's Rejects, which is the second of the 3 Rob Zombie trilogy movie where you had House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and 3 from Hell. I still have not seen 3 from Hell. But I did see Devil's Rejects in theaters on the way back from Ozfest 2005, which was a heck of an experience. Whew, I got so sick. Got into a lot of trouble. But we snuck pitchers of beer and snacks into the theater for for the Devil's Rejects. That was we didn't get caught. We didn't go thrown out. We had a good time though. I don't know how many movies I've seen out here other than the Avengers. I've seen Alien Romulus, which I went by myself because it was the only time I could get away. I think the rest of the family was doing something. My wife and my daughter were off doing some mother-daughter thing, so I went to the movies. And we went to see, me and my wife and her brother and the girl he was dating at the time, we went to see Predators, which was okay. I enjoy parts of it. There's other parts that don't make any sense at all, but I do enjoy it overall. Trying to think of what else. Excuse me, that I've seen in theaters since. I might have seen one of the Underworld movies, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure I watched those on DVD. And I'm not going to go through every single movie I've ever seen in my lifetime. I know it seems like that now. I've taken up a lot of time on it. But it's just to illustrate what I've seen and what I haven't. And these days, I don't have a lot of interest in seeing a lot of movies in theaters. Alien Romulus was the first movie in a long time that I thought, you know what, I think it's worth going to see. And partially I wanted to go because I wanted to get one of those alien head popcorn buckets because I thought that was cool. But by the time I got there, the line was so long, and I didn't want to wait because I'm old and I hate waiting in line. So I just said heck with it, and I just went in and sat and got a prime seat before the movie started. So I just kind of jipped myself out of it. But there's not many movies that I see advertised that I'm interested enough to take time out of my day to go watch in a theater. There's very few. Even on streaming, there's very few times that I want to sit and just watch a movie. And I'll still pop in my Blu-ray of Transformers the movie Not the Michael Bay, but the original cartoon back in the day. I'll still pop that in. I got like the 35th anniversary remaster or whatever it was, which is really good. It's fantastic. The colors are great. They fixed some of the animation errors, not all of them. But I'll still do that here at home sometimes. I just don't have the time. I don't have the time to just sit and take 2.5 hours to watch a movie. Doing an hour of this for the show, that's one thing. But even that, it feels like it's difficult to squeeze in sometimes. And I own a lot of movies. I have a pretty good selection of DVDs and Blu-rays. And it's crazy. It's crazy watching the technology change, because when I was a kid, you had the VHS, and I have a few tapes still. I have a VHS tape of Transformers the movie. I have in the big puffy case that you get for Disney movies and things, and all those kids movies at the time. You get the big puffy case. You know what I'm talking about. And I've seen things go from VHS to DVD to Blu-ray to streaming. It's such a weird progression. It's the same thing with music, having started off with cassette tapes, going to CDs, going to MP3s, and then on to Spotify and whatever. It's just crazy. I have the entirety of the Alien franchise, other than Romulus, because that's the newest. I have everything on DVD and or Blu-ray. I have all the Predator movies except for a few of the modern ones. I didn't watch The Predator, which is... it's after Predators, but before Prey. Prey I saw in theaters. No, I didn't, because it wasn't in theaters. It was on Hulu. Never mind. What am I talking about? I'm all over the place. Prey was good. It had some gratuitous scenes that were kind of like, whatever, but I get why. But it was alright. I have not watched the most recent animated Predator thing, because I think it looks weird. And I haven't seen Badlands yet, because I think the Predator itself is weirdly designed in that. He looks like they're trying to make him kind of humanish. But I might try to see it at some point in the near future. I have a soft spot for Predator stuff. And for Alien stuff. To be honest, the stream that I just did for Twitch, I'm playing Alien Rogue Incursion, it was a VR game, and it was ported to Xbox console as a normal game. And I just started that and played that for an hour, just right before I recorded this, so... I'm a big fan of the Alien and Predator franchises. I have not watched the TV show Alien Earth as of this moment. I don't know if I will, because I don't get into TV shows so much. I don't really get into that so much. I don't know. It's hard for me to get into. I've talked about that on previous episodes, so I'm not going to dwell on that too much. We're sticking with movies more than anything else. But let's talk about bad movies. Let's talk about bad movies that are specifically bad movies. And I want to say first off, it is okay to enjoy a bad movie. Because I've seen my share. Jason X is a bad movie. Even among other Jason ridiculous Friday the 13th movies. But I like it. I think it's hilarious. I don't think it's I'm sure it's meant to be comedic in some spots, but it's also supposed to be a crazy bloodfest horror movie. Jason X is a fantastic bad movie. I like it. I'm not going to make any illusions that it's got any great dialogue or that it's a good movie on any on any level, but I love it. It's a great movie to me. And it's that kind of attitude that got me into when I was still living with my folks and we got the satellite. It wasn't too often that I got a chance to watch things on the satellite. Because my sisters, I had 3 sisters, plus my mom. My dad was usually gone working most of the time. Not that he wasn't around, I'm not saying he was neglectful. I'm just saying he worked a lot. So usually at home it was me, my sisters, and my mom. And my sisters would watch reality shows and MTV stuff, and occasionally we'd share stuff that we'd like, but other than that, our tastes were not the same. But I had been reading in various magazines that I got, because I got various sci-fi books and sci-fi movies. Sci-fi magazines and different things. I saw things online sometimes because of the internet, okay, being new. I would hear about Mystery Science Theater 3000. About how they would take these old movies and they would just make jokes and they would watch and whatever. And I thought, you know what, that sounds hilarious. I think I'd like to see that. And one day, I happened to be scrolling on the TV, and my family was there. They were like, let's pick a show to watch. Because it was like breakfast or something. I don't remember what it was. And no, I think it was even around Thanksgiving, because it was around the time when they were doing one of their marathons, because Mystery Science Theater used to always do their Turkey Day marathon, right? And they'd do a bunch of episodes. And I found it, because I think it was either on Sci-Fi or Comedy Central at the time. I don't remember which channel, because it bounced around a few places. But I found it, and I was like, oh, hey, this is the show I've heard of. We should watch this. I think it's going to be funny. You guys would like it. And they were like, well, okay. And we start watching it, and it starts with the skits and things before it gets to the movies. And the skits are kind of always, sometimes they're okay, and sometimes they're dumb. Sometimes, because they're dumb on purpose. That's what it is. It's comedy. And so we're watching it, and my family's kind of like, my sister's like, I don't know, this is kind of stupid. And I'm like, just give it time, just wait. And I'm hoping, because I'm kind of feeling like, I don't know, maybe I made the wrong decision. But I'm telling them, please, just keep watching. They're going to watch a movie, and it's going to be funny. It's going to be an old movie, and they're going to laugh about it, and they're going to make jokes. And we got to the movie, and they did their thing. And, that changed everything. Everybody thought it was hilarious. And then we watched a bunch of episodes after that. And it became kind of a thing. And I carried that out into, these days. The original team from Mystery Science Theater is split up a little bit. But a few of them do riff tracks. A few of them do Cinematic Titanic, it's called, and then a few of them made a revival of Mystery Science Theater, which was not quite as good. It was too slickly produced, and the jokes were too forced, and, I don't know. But Riff Tracks is great. It has the most original of the original team. And so I got my family into that. And there are some astoundingly bad movies in that bunch. But most of the time it's hilarious. Most of the time it's funny. My wife has a preternatural talent for picking the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. I don't know. I mean, she likes some of them. But other times she'll just see movies like, oh yeah, this is great, we should watch this. And then we're both kind of like, why did we watch this movie? For Mystery Science Theater, we had an episode where they watched a movie called Kitten with a Whip. And it was the typical female stalker who's really in love with this dude, and she's gonna break up his marriage and mess up his whole life because she loves him and different things. And it's been done before, and it's been done decent in different movies and media, but this was so bad. We had to shut it off before it was over. It was so awful. It just was. Ugh. It was so dumb. And she wanted to watch it, and we just couldn't finish it. But she also likes low budget, crazy, like, ridiculous movies. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm somehow above that kind of thing. I'm a fan of some trauma movies. Okay, I like some Toxic Avenger once in a while. I've seen movies like The Killer Condom. No explanation necessary for that. If you want to see that, you're taking your life into your own hands. But, and Psycho Gorman. Psycho Gorman is a great movie, even though it's low budget. You know, whatever. I paid for that movie on Amazon, and I don't feel bad about it for a second. But sometimes she'll just pick a movie that's just, oh gosh, it's so bad. She picked a movie called Velocipastor. Okay? Let me try to lay this out for you. This is a dude who became religious. He became a preacher, but he got bitten or attacked by somebody or some creature that caused him to turn into a velociraptor in certain times of the day. Like a werewolf thing, but not. And when he would turn into the raptor, it was the dude in a big rubber dinosaur suit. It wasn't even like CGI. It wasn't Jurassic Park level. It was one of those like T-Rex costume suits that you see people running around in, those blow-up things. And he would go around and he would attack people like that. There'd be fake blood sprays. And you know what? I knew how bad this was going to be in the very beginning. Because as it starts, he's with his parents and he's like, whatever. He's explaining something to them and they go to leave. And they get in the car outside. And supposedly somebody was targeting him for something, so the car gets blown up. But instead of the car blowing up, it shows a black box and a little graphic says, car explosion. They don't even have the effects for it. It just says car explosion. Or car explodes. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And the movie never got any better from there. It was so awful. Oh gosh, and that's not the only movie that she's had me watch that's been like that. I don't get it. But we have fun. Whatever. I'm not gonna blame her poor movie taste. At least she tries. We're running out of time, but I need to address real quick my favorite movie of all time. Now, back in the day, I would say that The Empire Strikes Back was my favorite movie of all time. But I've fallen off the Star Wars hype wagon. I have, since the sequel trilogy, I think the last one was called, what was the last one? The last one was Rise of Skywalker, or what was it? You had The Force Awakens. Which one came next? Was it The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker? It was one of those two, and I don't remember which one. But that trilogy was, I didn't like it. Didn't care for it. I liked Rogue One, but I didn't like the rest of that trilogy. And everything after that, I just haven't watched. And I haven't watched any of their TV shows, because I've been disillusioned by all of it, so I've fallen off the Star Wars wagon, and I haven't gone back. I'm probably not going to get back into it, which is a shame, because it was a big thing when I was a kid. I wrote fan fiction and everything, I was into it, action figures, the whole works. But my favorite movie of all time is called Unbreakable. It's a Shyamalan movie. It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. And it's Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson. And it is so good. It gets into the philosophical, like, superheroes in comics. They're based off of real people that did great things, and real people can still do great things, and they can still make an impact. And it's a modern day superhero thing with weaknesses and all that, but without really great superpowers. It's just people who are just slightly better than everybody else in certain areas. They have certain senses or certain strengths that they can do that put them above other people in how they do things. And I think that's realistic. And it's just, the music is fantastic. Who does? The music is one of my favorite composers, to be honest. Let me take a look. I'm going to look it up because I should know it off the top of my head. Unbreakable score. Soundtrack. Original motion picture score. James Newton Howard. It's fantastic. It's got such great themes that run through the whole thing, and it just... the movie is so good. And they made 2 more movies after that in the same universe. They made Split, which was interesting. Not a terrible movie, but not quite as good. And then they made Glass, which is supposed to tie it all together. And I didn't care for the ending, because they ended it in a way, and I know why. They ended it because they couldn't make any more movies because Bruce Willis... And I feel bad. He had started developing dementia, and it's progressed. And he started doing multiple movies after that were not all that great, specifically just to build up a certain amount of capital to cover his future medical bills, because he knew it was coming. He knew what was happening to him early on. He had an early diagnosis, and he was able to prepare for it, and it's really sad. And I'm not going to say that I was always the world's biggest Bruce Willis fan, but I've liked most of the stuff I've seen him in. And it's too bad. And that's... When Glass came out, it was hamstrung by the fact that he knew he had this diagnosis and things were starting to go wrong, and he knew he wasn't going to be able to continue making movies like it, so there wasn't a reason to give it a really great ending. So, but it's one of my favorite movies. I love it. Unbreakable is fantastic. I say everybody should watch it. I like The Fifth Element, which is another Bruce Willis movie, but it's not one of my favorite movies, but it is in the top tier. And I also like, one of my other favorite movies is a Robin Williams movie that is not a comedy. He has a few movies that are not comedies that he made later in life. And this one is just, it's at times devastating, at times hopeful. It's a fantastically done movie. Even though some of the acting choices were kind of iffy, but it's called What Dreams May Come. And I have it on DVD because it made so much of an impact on me that I had to get my own copy. And I don't want to give away too much. I know it's been out for years, so you can find spoilers if you want, but it deals with the afterlife, and it just hits all the right places. It's fantastic. It is an excellent movie. As far as movies that are not some of my favorites, I still don't understand The Fountain. The Fountain is a Darren Aronofsky movie. Aronofsky, I don't know. That covers 3 different It's three different faces of the same basic character in three different time periods, and there's no explanation for how they're necessarily connected. There's just the barest framework, and while each part separately might have been a decent movie on its own, putting it all together made next to no sense. So, I don't know. We're here at the end, and I've covered a lot. And there's more I could talk about, because I've got all kinds of complex thoughts about movies and whatnot, but I'm going to leave it at that. Of course, I recommend that you watch Unbreakable. I recommend that you watch What Dreams May Come. I think they're fantastic. And that's just my personal opinion. What are some of your favorite movies? What do you like? If you like Adam Sandler comedies, you know what? That's not terrible. I've seen a few, and they've been kind of funny. I'm not a huge Adam Sandler fan, but I did like The Wedding Singer. The Wedding Singer is one of my favorite movies with Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore, at the time, I had the biggest crush on her. Like, she just... Oh, I was so attracted to her. Everything about her was great. Her face, her physical attributes, the way she talked. Oh, my goodness. As a kid. As a teenager, rather. But, whatever movie you're into, I'm not going to judge you. I was going to talk about other movies that I didn't really like. And I'm going to just drop some names, and then people are going to speculate, be like, oh, what? I didn't like the Matrix movies. Didn't like them. Didn't care for Mission Impossible. Not really into it. But I'm not going to keep going about that because I don't want to go too far over time. We could just talk forever into the night, but I've got other things I got to get done. Like I said, I have limited time. But let me know what you think. You can drop comments on Spotify. You can drop comments on YouTube. If this gets there in a reasonable time frame, which is looking like it might not. You can drop some comments on Spreaker if you join. I think you can join without having to pay. If you're a listener, I think you can subscribe. I don't know. I don't remember how it works. Any of the other podcast services that allow comments, let me know. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your opinion, what movies you like. Is there a movie that you think I should watch based on what I've told you tonight? Okay. And I mean that in a way that if you think I would like it based off the fact that I like Unbreakable or Predator movies or Alien movies or that kind of thing, if you were going to recommend it based on my dislike of Velocipaster and things of that nature, please don't. Please don't make my life any worse than it needs to be. I'll be angry with you. I'll be angry with you. Let's see. Let's have a drink here. Let's drink that down. Some good Ardbeg. And that's it, though. Let me know. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your opinions. And that's the end of this episode. Next week, I think I already have a plan for next week. Next week's episode. Let me look it up here. What I have written in my notes. Because I got to take notes now. Next week is episode 34. This was episode 33, of course. But next week, 34, I'm going to be talking about vacations. The various places I have visited in my life as both a kid and as an adult. You'll get to hear about the various theme parks and things that we went to when we went on as a family in my youth. The yearly Pennsylvania fair that I always went to, and it's been a few years since I've gone. I tried to go, actually, as an adult. Even living out here, it's like a 3-hour trip to get out there, but I used to still go and take my daughter a couple times when she was younger, but it's just become a hassle now. That time I went to Disney, because I've been there, in Florida. That time I went to California, San Francisco Bay, I went there. And that time I went to Hawaii, went there. did that, got sick. Sinus infection from the plane. Oh, there was a lot of back and forth for that trip, but had a good time. So we're going to talk about that next week. Tune in. Thank you so much for listening. We get hundreds of listens per month, and I am so grateful for it. We're closing in on getting thousands of listens. It is very close. If you just listen to a few more episodes, you could be one of those people to push us over the line. And don't forget to go to uncannymedia.net, where you can not only listen to these episodes, but you can also watch gaming videos. You can hook up with Musicians Hangout every Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific. The absolute best interview show for independent musicians in the entirety of the Pacific Northwest. Nobody, as much as they may claim, comes close. And don't forget to check out if you're in the Pacific Northwest, check out what Lou Jack Promotions is up to. They've got shows, they've got different things. Kevin's birthday is coming up. Mr. Kevin's birthday is in October. He's going to do a birthday show. Lots of different musicians and things going on there. He, of course, is one of our affiliates, along with Musicians Hangout. Glad to be a part of such a great team of enthusiastic people. And that's it. That's all I've got. Thanks for listening. Have a good night.